Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Photovag magazine. Every first Saturday of the month, I'll be offering a review of my photography gear and practice, summarizing news from the brands I use and from my partners, and my work schedule. My comments are solely my own. The products featured are not sponsored unless I specifically mention it. I'd be delighted to engage with you in a constructive spirit. Trolls and grumblers will be systematically banished. This month, we'll be taking a look at my street photography, 2 exhibitions in Paris, Canon's back-to-school news, and my collaboration with the website Visiting Paris by Yourself. For a long time, I struggled to point my camera at people on the street. Shyness, reserve, respect. So my street photography has generally consisted of taking shots of buildings, perspectives, or even postcard shots, sometimes lacking interest, often life. Lately, street photography has attracted me more, perhaps because it can be practiced on a daily basis, or perhaps because my return to Paris has opened up horizons that life in the countryside no longer allowed me. My family constraints didn't allow me to practice much for several months, but I do have a series of images I took in New York 10 years ago that are not without interest. Technically, the conditions aren't optimal. Let's first talk about equipment. The photos featured in the 2 New York series were taken with a Canon PowerShot G15, which I was using as my main camera at the time. However, many images I hadn't paid attention to are worthy of interest. Of course, over the past 10 years, my mastery of Lightroom has evolved, as have the software's capabilities. But ultimately, isn't the most important thing the eye that looks and detects the potential in cropping or better lighting? With these thoughts in mind, I chose to shoot 2 series from my trip to New York in April 2014. The first is entitled People of New York and aims to capture the spirit and diversity of New Yorkers. Except for 1 or 2, the aim was to faithfully capture the energy that emanates from the city with saturated colors that stimulate the eye at every street corner. I called the second Details of NYC. It's intended to be more intimate, more conceptual. Blending color with black and white, I wanted to highlight the contrasting materials, stone, metal, and glass, making this city a clever blend of tradition and modernity. Like every series presented in the gallery section of my website, www.photovag.art, of course, even if it's difficult to follow in the footsteps of the greats, it's impossible to practice street photography without thinking of Robert Doisneau or Henri Cartier-Bresson. However, by taking a closer look at their working methods, we realize that the images are constructed, even posed, like the famous Baiser de l'Hôtel de Ville. I found much more inspiration in the work of Joel Meyerowitz, less well known in France, but considered one of the greatest contemporary street photographers. Without always seeking to isolate a subject, and above all by systematically using color, Meyerowitz gave street photography the spontaneity and modernity that was sometimes lacking. For more, I strongly recommend his book, A Question of Color. Today, I practice street photography with 2 types of equipment. When I want to remain discreet and capture a mood, I use my second-hand Leica Q2. But sometimes I seek to capture the spirit of passers-by while maintaining my distance. I then work with my Canon R6 and a telephoto lens. As you can see, technique is at the service of the result, and images must be constructed with intention. During the photography workshops I offer, we address these questions to obtain the best images. A few weeks ago, we learned of the death of Sebastião Salgado. Sebastião Salgado, a Brazilian social documentary photographer and photojournalist, was born on February 8, 1944, in Amores, Brazil. He studied economics but transitioned to photography, capturing profound human experiences and social issues through his lens. Salgado's work often focuses on the plight of marginalized communities and the environment, evidenced in iconic series like Workers, Genesis, and Migrations. His powerful imagery has garnered worldwide acclaim, and he co-founded the humanitarian organization Instituto Terra, which aims to restore and conserve Brazil's Atlantic forest. His profound commitment to social justice and environmental awareness has left an indelible mark on contemporary photography. As for Parisian exhibitions, you can still discover the work of Robert Doisneau at the Maillot Museum and the work of Raymond Depardon on Auschwitz at the Shoah Memorial, two giants of French photography who left their mark on the 20th century. The ESA Awards recognize the best cameras, lenses, and smartphones of the year. The jury, composed of members of specialized editorial teams, has just revealed its verdict. Canon places many products in the ranking: Canon R1 Best Professional Camera, Canon R5 Mark II, Deuce Best Full Frame Camera, Canon PowerShot V1, Best Vlogging, Camera Canon RF 50F 1.4, VCM Best Standard Lens, Canon RF 7200 f2.8, USM Best Telephoto Zoom. A few months ago, I was contacted by the manager of the Visit Paris by Yourself website to provide some images. He became interested in my work after visiting my website at www.photovag.com. Their site is still under construction and will continue to evolve to offer more photos of the French capital. I'm very proud to have been approached. Discover the site and its offerings at visitingparisbyyourself.com. I hope you enjoyed this first issue of the magazine. Feel free to suggest topics in the comments. Thank you for subscribing to my channel and clicking like. I'll see you on November